When I was in high school, I loved Spanish. I always wanted to learn it, and I loved my Spanish classes. I made really good grades, and I thought, this is easy. But then 3 years ago, I started officially learning on my own and actually trying to become fluent. And I realized Spanish is hard, okay? It's very confusing for English speakers. And today I'm going to tell you why. Obviously, this video is not meant to be hateful. Every language has its difficulties. And I want to know in the comments, what is the most difficult or confusing part about English for you? When I read in Spanish, it's a completely different language than how it's spoken in the real world. In my head, Spanish is like, Hola, mi mamá me dijo que va a cocinar. I don't know what I'm saying. But when native speakers talk, it sounds like,
Ay, a ver si me voy a electrocutar con el secador. Yo ya sé que mi secador va a funcionar y no me voy a...
Where are the words? Where are the words? Has anyone seen the words? Spanish is the second fastest language in the world. Also, there are so many countries with completely different accents, different slang, and different ways of expressing the same thing. There are tons of conjugations in Spanish, and there are lots of irregular verbs as well. Let's look at the verb have. Tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, tienen, tuve, tuviste, tuvo, tuvimos, tuvises, tuvieron, tenía, tenías, tenía, teníamos, tenías, tenían, tendría, tendrías, tendría, tendríamos, tendrías, tendrían, tendré.
75 años después.
Tuvieseis, tuviesen. In English, have, has, had, would have, will have. And the commands also have 10 different conjugations depending on who you're talking to. Plus, there are irregular verbs to memorize. And I don't think the hardest part is memorizing them. It's having to use them and conjugate quickly in the moment. Thankfully, it's easier for me now. In sentences like, le dije a mi mamá. What is the point of the le? What? Le dije, I told her. Dije a mi mamá, I told my mom. Le dije a mi mamá is like, to her, I told to my mom. And sometimes le turns into se. Se lo di. This is very confusing for English speakers because we wouldn't use anything like le in these types of sentences. Speaking of le, all of the pronouns in Spanish,
Se, me, te, le, fue, le.
there are a lot of short words, and these pronouns can be very confusing, especially in the structure se me fue, se le fue. A Miguel se le olvidó. It's so complicated. It's so complicated. It could just be Miguel forgot. There's too much happening in that sentence. I saw a comment the other day. Se le ve grande la cabeza. It's so complicated. The le, I don't like the le. I don't like it. We don't have this in English. So every time I have to use the past tense, I have to decide, is it el pretérito o el imperfecto? And most of the time, I don't know. They teach us the basic rules: habitual, background information, one time, the main information. But 90% of the time, we don't have that context while talking about the past tense. And you can sometimes use both for the same situation. I know, because I'm seeing the native speakers do it. Anyway, I still question if I use this correctly, even though I technically learned the rules. But I'm going to keep working on it with my therapist. I mean, my tutor and my therapist. Now, in English, nouns don't have gender. It's just the, it, this, that. And I don't think it's that difficult to memorize most nouns' genders. The problem is, gender affects every part of the sentence. La mano es pequeña. Mírala. As English speakers, we have to learn to maintain awareness of gender constantly when my brain doesn't naturally think like that. In Spanish, you can say alto, altos, alta, altas. In English, it's always tall. The word was in English has 4 possible translations in Spanish. Fue, era, estuvo, and estaba. Also, ir and ser have the same past tense preterite conjugations. If you don't know what the subjunctive is, it's all of the conjugations like tenga, haya, hubiera, and the indicative refers to the conjugations like tengo, tienes, eres. The subjunctive conjugations are caused by certain expressions, but the rules seem completely random. There are phrases that always cause the subjunctive. There are phrases that can cause the subjunctive or indicative, but they mean slightly different things. And there are phrases that sometimes cause the subjunctive only in specific scenarios. Cuando only causes the subjunctive when we're talking about the future. Why am I teaching Spanish to you guys? You already know Spanish. But si can talk about the future, hypothetically, but it's not the subjunctive. Si me visitas. But si in Portuguese causes the subjunctive in the future. I know that I'm never going to use the subjunctive perfectly because there are some really advanced rules, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. Ser and estar are just be in English. I will admit I do now see them as 2 different concepts. In general, there are still some exceptions that don't make sense to me. ¿Dónde es la fiesta? Why is it not está? I also just remembered become in English has like 5 words in Spanish, like hacerse, volverse, convertirse, ponerse. So that's complicated for us too.
Lo más difícil.
For me, the hardest part isn't learning the individual grammar concepts because they're not impossible to learn or understand in general. The hard part is having to speak fluently in the moment and use all of these concepts that don't exist in English. To form one sentence in Spanish, you have to know the 2 past tenses, the subjunctive rules, the gender of every noun, all of the conjugations, ser and estar, por and para. There are a lot of things that have 1 concept in English, but 2 options in Spanish. So I remember when I used to speak, it was so painful. It hurt my head because I had to think of like 30 things at a time. And it just requires a lot of practice, just like any language. Thank you for watching. If you want to learn English without traveling, I have a lot of videos with subtitles. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, a little more than 1,000. I can't go into public anymore because I'm so famous. I walk out of my house and everyone is like, oh my God, it's the YouTuber. I really appreciate you guys and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.